Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the live chat. It's me, it's Benji-Sales, and it is so good to be back. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, as always, we have a ton we can talk about today. Clearly, the craziest story going on right now is going to be the GameStop stock situation, which is just complete and utter chaos. It's going all over the place. It's skyrocketing up, hitting record levels of valuation. It's dropping. It's all over the place. The U.S. government's getting involved. It's just complete chaos. So we can talk about that, but there is a ton else we can talk about, right? The Xbox, Microsoft financial results have come out. So we've got new numbers for Game Pass subscribers. We found out that this is the first time ever that the Xbox division has generated $5 billion in revenue in a quarter. So their biggest quarter ever of all time, which is really encouraging for Xbox. So we've got that we can talk about. Capcom hitting record levels of profits, and this is before even we get to games like Monster Hunter Rise and Resident Evil 8 Village. We have news on console shortages. AMD saying that these shortages are going to last until the second half of 2021. Crazy. So we have a ton to talk about. For anyone, if this is your first time ever being part of the live chat, the way it works, you drop your comments, you drop your questions down into chat, and I hit as many as possible. Now, there's two ways to do that. First of all, there's the free method, right? All you do is you just type a question, you drop it into chat, and I get to it. The other way, though, of course, is going to be the super chat option. Basically, you just drop a donation into super chat, and I hit those questions immediately, right? As soon as I get the notification for a super chat, I go right to it. So that is a way to guarantee that I answer your question, but do not feel obligated to do it. That said, chat does usually get pretty big in terms of the amount of questions, and I don't usually hit every single free question, but I try to hit as many as possible. So if you want to make sure you get it, Super Chat's going to be the way to do that. Also, if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to 3,000 subscribers over here. So really quick, before I start dropping into the questions, I do want to give a very quick overview of a couple of the topics, right? A little bit more detail. Don't worry, this won't be super long, but I want to give you some context before we start diving into the really in-depth questions. So first, let's talk about Xbox financials really quick. So the Xbox results, overall gaming revenue was up by 51%, right? 51%, which is awesome. Xbox content and services grew by 40% thanks to third and first party title strength, as well as an increase in Xbox Game Pass subscribers. And we actually got a number on that, right? Game Pass is now at 18 million subscribers. Xbox hardware revenue grew by 86% year over year. That's not shocking, though, considering we had the Series X and Series S launch, but still, that's gigantic growth, right? 86% year over year. In terms of Game Pass momentum, in April of 2020, we found out they were at 10 million subs. In September, we found out they were at 15 million subs. And then now here in January, we're finding out 18 million. So it kind of levels off to around 1 million subscribers a month. Now, that's going to vary, right? Not every month is a million subs, but they basically gained 8 million subs in 9 months. So it's pretty close, right? Around a million a month, which is a good growth rate if they can keep that up. The other, thing that we can mention really quick is Capcom. They had net sales up 22% and their operating income was up 32.2%. So the most profit ever for Capcom. Holy cow, y'all. Great results, honestly, for both Capcom and Microsoft. Okay, there is a bunch of questions dropping in already. So I'm going to start hitting those. Timmer, 72299 with the first super chat of 5. Thank you so much, Timmer. Hi, Benji. Which game do you think will sell more lifetime? The next Animal Crossing, Mario Kart 9, or Breath of the Wild 2? Plus, keep being awesome, Timmer says. You keep being awesome too, Timmer. I think I saw recently you passed 2,200 followers on Twitter. Congrats to that. I think that was the number. If I'm off, sorry on that. But congrats, Timmer. Keep up your awesome work digging up amazing stuff on LinkedIn. So this is a fun and tough question. So the next Animal Crossing, Mario Kart 9, or Breath of the Wild 2? I'm going to say Breath of the Wild 2 will probably sell the least of these three. And I know that might sound shocking, right? Because it's Zelda, right? And we're mostly hardcore gamers here. So it's like Zelda might be the most attractive game on this list to many of us, right? Like I'm most excited for Breath of the Wild 2 out of those three. And it's not even close. But Animal Crossing and Mario Kart 9, those hit like a way broader demo than Zelda. And don't get me wrong, Zelda hits a massively broad demo, right? That's basically a 20 million unit seller for Breath of the Wild 1. But Animal Crossing and Mario Kart, those are like way above 20 million, right? These are going to be 30, 40, maybe even 50 million unit selling games. That doesn't guarantee that the sequels for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and New Horizons are going to be as big as maybe their current games, but I still think they'll be bigger than Breath of the Wild 2. So I'd put Breath of the Wild 2 at number 3, still huge, but number 3 out of that list. I'm going to put Mario Kart 9 number 1, honestly, as long as it's good. I know Animal Crossing was giant, right? New Horizons is the fastest selling Nintendo game ever. It's actually, I believe, I'd have to do more research, but I am sure. It's the fastest selling exclusive game ever, right? In general, it's the fastest selling exclusive game ever made. But I do wonder if the follow-up will be as big as that. I mean, it might, but Mario Kart, put it this way. Mario Kart is incredibly consistent as basically being the like number 1 or number 2 best-selling Nintendo game for quite some time, right? You go back and you look at Mario Kart on Wii, it was gigantic. You look at Mario Kart really across systems, and it's, at least since the Wii, I would say, it's consistently one of the best-selling games that Nintendo has on any of their platforms. Even Mario Kart on DS was gigantic, right? So I'm going to put Mario Kart number 9 as 1, Animal Crossing, and then Breath of the Wild 2. But Animal Crossing and Mario Kart could flip-flop. But I'm very confident both will be bigger than Breath of the Wild 2, yeah. Because even if Breath of the Wild 2 hits like 20 million, let's say 25 million, I would expect Mario Kart 9 and Animal Crossing to both be bigger than that. So that's kind of my predictions on that. Plastic Hearts Podcast with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Plastic Hearts Podcast. Thank you for always being a part of chat. And thank you for always dropping the super chat. Sorry, my phone's going off. Let me make sure nothing important's happening. Okay, no. All right, with GameStop putting short selling under the mainstream eye, do you foresee the practice face actual restrictions, or will online stock meeting spaces like Reddit and Discord take the fall? Okay, let's go into this GameStop stuff really quick, okay? Really quick. Okay. So, for anyone that missed what has happened here, I'm going to first tell you the way it started, and we're way past this now, right? Now it's gone into complete chaos. But for anyone that doesn't have any context around why GameStop stock has just gone completely nuclear, through the roof, utterly insane, it is not because the company itself is on like an amazing trajectory, okay? So basically what happened is a Reddit group, right? Wall Street Bets. They are a big group, right? There's a ton of people that are part of this that are investors, right? They're not necessarily like your big, giant, rich, billionaire investors. This is mostly, I'm sure there are a few of those and they're sprinkled in, but it's mostly like, your day traders, they're wheeling and dealing, kind of like penny stocks, like shorter stocks. And basically they had got into it with a giant firm in like a debate over GameStop, right? And they felt that the share price was being driven way too low, right? This group felt that GameStop was more than the crazy lows it was pushing towards. So they decided they were going to band together and they were going to work to raise the value of this stock, basically as a way of proving, hey, it's worth more than what you're driving this price down to that we're invested in. After that, though, it went crazy, right? It went way broader than just one group versus this firm, right? It went into complete and utter chaos. Everyone's investing. Randos are investing. People that have never invested before are investing. And this caused the stock to hit utterly insane levels. It got up close to $500. Now, keep in mind, this is a a company that share price at one point was as low as like single digit dollars, $3, $5, not even that long ago. We're talking like a year ago or something, it was that low. And even a month ago, it was low. So it just went completely crazy. Do I think that this is going to end short selling or things like that? No, Plastic Hearts, but here's the deal. This is going to cause chaos. It's already causing chaos, right? You're seeing the government involved. You're seeing Biden mentioning that he's monitoring the situation. You're seeing Robinhood and other, investing apps not letting you buy GameStop stocks, and this turning highly controversial around, is this illegal? Is this market manipulation? Here's the thing. I do think we're going to see legislation in some sort come out of this. I don't think it's necessarily going to be against people that are short selling, because the people that raised the stock here didn't do anything illegal. It might have been kind of a loophole, right? Working together like this, it is a bit of a loophole, but there's nothing like flat out illegal that happened here. So I don't think there will be legislation against that kind of thing, but definitely there's gonna be something, right? This whole situation is completely way too crazy. Reddit has, like, they closed Wall Street Bets, or it was Discord, one or the other. They had to create a new server. I mean, this is chaos. So we're going to see some sort of repercussions out of this. This is one of the craziest things I've ever seen, okay? And it's not over, right? They tried, basically, Robinhood and everyone not allowing you to buy stock and only sell it was a way to try and drive that price back down, right? They're trying to make that price cheaper instead of continuing to go up. You have people like Elon Musk that are tweeting out trying to get the stock to go up. So it's a battle. We are literally witnessing a battle right now between the common folk, quote, quote, and like big time billionaire investors. Now, to be clear, trust me, there's big time billionaire investors that are investing and making a lot of money here too. So it's not only just the common people versus the rich, but that's definitely part of what's happening. Yeah, 100% that's part of it. But it's crazy. Split End 89 with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Split End 89. Thanks for making the chat. Little behind the scenes here. I didn't even get a chance to tell Split End, even though he's the mod here, that we were going live. So thank you for making it, Split End. I was busy and I got my daughter down to nap about 2 minutes before the stream started. So I've been with her. She went to the dentist today. Thank you for making it, Split End. You're amazing. Has Hitman 3 exceeded expectations in sales and reviews? Definitely, Split End. Definitely it exceeded expectations, in my opinion, in sales. So for anyone that hasn't seen it yet, Hitman 3 in 1 week, only a week, actually less than a week, completely recouped its development costs and is now profitable within only a week. That is fantastic news for IO Interactive. IO is self-publishing now. You know, they're an independent studio now. Hitman 3 was the first of their games that they completely self-published. Now, I believe they did have publishing help in Europe. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know in general, right, it was like the first one that they have completely self-published, like in the US and things like that. So to completely recoup costs and now to be profitable only a week after, right? Y'all, this game's not going to stop selling in a week. They're going to make a lot of money on Hitman 3. So yeah, it 100% exceeded expectations financially. There's just no doubt about it. Even if legs were, let's say, okay or mediocre, I mean, they're already going to make a bunch of money off the game. I mean, we're not talking it was profitable in its first month and its first week. So that is fantastic news for IO. And reviews were also incredibly strong. So this makes me really excited for James Bond, right? I mean, I was already excited for James Bond. We haven't had like a really sweet James Bond game in a long time. And IO Interactive feels like a perfect fit when you look at Hitman. So yeah, I mean, this makes me really excited for them. They're going to get a lot of confidence going into that James Bond project from this. So yeah, awesome news. Kelligrim with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Kelligrim, and it's good to see you, buddy. With the whole Xbox Live price fiasco, yes, this was crazy, right? Let's talk about this. The whole Xbox Live price fiasco last week, it's clear Microsoft is trying to get customers on Game Pass. I agree. Do you think they will merge the two or just stop supporting Live? Okay, this is a great question, Kellegram, and I know a lot of people are real curious to hear my thoughts on this. So I publicly said, right, as soon as this whole doubling, so for anyone that missed it, basically last week, Microsoft announced they were going to double the price of Xbox Live Gold yearly to $120, and there was going to be no new benefits with this, right? It wasn't one of those things where it's like, hey, we're going to double the price and you're also going to get like tons of new stuff, right? Let's say instead of 3 games or whatever it is a month free, we're going to give you 10 games or, some kind of incentive. There was no incentive. It was just, hey, we're going to double the price. Clearly and obviously, I'm shocked it even made this to the public, it was met with massive backlash. I mean, massive, right? I saw tons of even very pro Xbox, like YouTubers and things like this, completely calling Microsoft out because this was crazy, right? Had they done like a $10 price hike, I mean, it would have still sucked, but I think they actually could have gotten away with that, right? If you just went up by like $10 or $15 a year, because basically the argument they made in the original blog post was that the price has been the same for so long, inflation, things like this. It was time to increase, how much it costs for the service. It would have still sucked and they would have still got backlash. But if they would have, like I said, upped it by 10, 15, they probably could have got away with it. But going double, I mean, how did anyone at Microsoft approve this? How did anyone think this was going to be a good idea? And in the middle of a pandemic and in the middle of a lot of people financially hurting. This was one of the biggest blunders I've seen from a big gaming company in quite some time. And like I said, the backlash was immense. Microsoft went back on this in less than a day. The same day they announced this, by the end of the day, they were like, you know what? We're going to cancel that. So, relating it to Game Pass, yes, I think definitely a part of this was to entice people to move over to Game Pass Ultimate. So basically, it looked like if you were just like a casual consumer and you're looking at the two services, you're like, why would I spend all this money on Xbox Live Gold when I could basically spend the same and get Gold as well as all the access to Game Pass, right? So I do think, Kellegram, that a 100% part of this was to drive people away from Xbox Live Gold and funneled into Game Pass Ultimate. Because as we all kind of know, that's the future for Microsoft, right? That is the business they're trying to build. Do I think they're going to merge the two or stop supporting Live? Well, here's the thing, right? Their investment into Xbox Live Gold has been very low for a while. And I'm not necessarily saying the back-end servers aren't improving or things like this, but when you look at like brand new additions to Gold, very low, right? There's not really a ton new that's happening there. The games with Gold quality has really dipped, especially when you compare it to PlayStation Plus. It's clear what I'm saying is that the vast bulk of their investment right now isn't into Gold, it's into Game Pass. Do I think they're going to ever stop supporting Live? Probably not, unless they hit a point where Game Pass Ultimate is so ubiquitous that there's not a whole lot of reason to keep Live, right? Let's say they get to a point where they have 50 million plus Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. Then you might see them drop Live, because if they have 50 million plus on Ultimate, that means a lot of people that were on Gold have now switched over to Ultimate, and there's probably not going to be that many people still on Xbox Live Gold, so they can kind of sacrifice it. Where we're at right now, there's only 18 million Game Pass subscribers, and that is a lot, right? 18 million subs is a lot, especially for a service that hasn't been around for that long, but there's still clearly a lot of people that are subscribed to Gold that are not to Ultimate. So if they just got rid of Live right now, they would be sacrificing all that Gold revenue, in the future if they made Gold just free. So my hunch is, Kellegram, yeah, you won't see that completely go away until they hit that 50 million or more number on Game Pass Ultimate subscribers. But yeah, what a mistake that was. I mean, that was Whoever approved that at Microsoft, that was not the move. Holy cow, Kills 2013 with a massive super chat. Holy cow, Kills 2013. I think this is like 50 euro, or I'm terrible at reading currencies. I'm so sorry, but 50, my goodness. Thank you so much. That is a gigantic super chat. I thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, you did not have to do that, but thank you so much. That is incredibly generous, Kills. Hi, Benji. With the delay of Returnal, I start to wonder about the release date of Ratchet and Clank. I'm glad you asked this. Of Ratchet and Clank / the possibility that all PlayStation projects in development have been pushed back. I think so. Surely they can't release 5 to 6 exclusives in 7 months. What are your thoughts on this? So Kills, first of all, like I said, thank you for that incredibly generous super chat. And in regards to your question, it's a good one. And I'm glad you asked it because I am on the same boat as you, right? Keep in mind, so for anyone that missed it, Returnal has been delayed. It was originally going to be March. Now it's April 30th. That's basically a month delay, right? It's a little bit longer than a month because it was March 18th or something like that. It was more like mid-March. Now it's going to be, the end of the month, essentially. So just slightly over a month, like 5 weeks or something like that delay for Returnal. And basically Sony just said that Housemarque needs more time to polish the game. Kills, I agree with you. I think essentially we can probably count that most of Sony's internal first-party games are being delayed. And I don't think that just applies to Sony. It's applying to everyone, right? Look at how many delays we've already seen. We now have Returnal delayed. We had Riders Republic that was delayed. We had Hogwarts Legacy that was delayed, like completely out of this year even. It was supposed to be 2021. And there's been a few other delays too, right? I think maybe Dying Light 2 might have caught another delay or something like that. But yeah, there was even more games than just this. And I suspect there's more to come. Ratchet and Clank, if you remember, was announced as launch window, right? Whenever they announced that game. Typically, we consider, and when I say we, there's no hard line on this, but a lot of people consider launch window to be basically as much as like 6 months post-launch, right? That's kind of considered a launch window, and that's being a little generous, right? Some people look at it more like in the first 4 months, but for me personally, I allow that to go up to like 6 months. Now, if the PS5 came out in November, that's going to be November, December, January, February, March, April. That means being generous, if you give 6 months for a launch window, that game would need to be out by April. I was originally thinking that was going to be the date now. I mean, originally, I thought it was going to be like February. But whenever we didn't hear anything for a long time, I was like, okay, by April, this has to release. Now I'm really wondering on that, right? I could see this becoming a summer game. I could see this becoming like a June or July. And at that point, it is 100% not launch window. I mean, if you're all the way out into the summer, you're not in the launch window. I'm sorry, but you're just not. But I think their plan was to be, right? Clearly, delays are just hitting hot and heavy for like everyone. Keep in mind also that originally Gran Turismo, it was indicated, was targeting the first half of the year. So that means by the end of June. I think that's not happening now either, right? That's probably going to be pushed back until like September, October. My thoughts are is that God of War Ragnarok, and I have been optimistic about this game, I think there's almost 0% chance that game comes out this year now. I mean, I really don't think so, considering how many delays we're seeing. And God of War is a game we've seen literally nothing but a logo, right? We haven't seen a single thing from that game but a logo. We've seen more on games like Hogwarts Legacy that were completely delayed out of the year, right? Now, we haven't seen like straight up gameplay, but we saw in-game tons of footage of Hogwarts Legacy, and that's not even this year anymore. So my hunch is God of War is not making this year. I think Horizon is probably still going to make it, but I'm guessing it's going to take God of War's spot as their big holiday title. Originally, I thought Horizon was going to be like a September-ish game, right? Like an early fall game for Sony, and then God of War was going to close out the year in like November or December with like a big bang right at the end of 2021. I'm thinking now Horizon's probably going to take that God of War spot, and God of War is probably getting pushed out of this year. Yeah, I think so, Kills. I think most of their games are getting pushed back 2, 3, 4 months. And that's going to apply to most people, right? This isn't just a Sony problem. This is a whole industry problem. So that's my thoughts. That's my guess. None of this is set in stone. I would say, here's what I'll say, Kills. Let's say they come out and they announce Ratchet and Clank for April, because we have seen Sony launch exclusives back-to-back months, right? If you remember, Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2 did this. So they're not 100% opposed to that, right? If Ratchet and Clank is April, I think we can feel a little more optimistic that the delays might not be as bad as we think. But if Ratchet and Clank is summer, yep, I think we can count on most of these games getting, at least 2, 3, 4 month delays. Thank you so much again for that super chat, Kills. That might be the biggest one I've ever got. I mean, it's up there. Thank you so much. Tonsi K with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Tonsi. Can't join now as always when you're live. Read some dumb tweet during Xmas time, I think. I just want to say you're doing great work. Buy your first sub C. Well, thank you for the super chat, Tonsi. Sorry you can't join live. And I'm sorry if my tweet was dumb during Christmas. Sorry about that. If you're saying my tweet was dumb, I'm sorry. But thank you for the compliment on the said I did great work. Thank you so much. Okay. Killian Butler with a 5 super chat. So good to see you, Killian. Oh, also hope you and everyone is doing okay, Benji. My last super chat had a different name, and I'm not sure why. LOL. Funny. Killian, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good. I hope everyone watching this is doing good. Yeah, doing good. Honestly, for winter time, winter is usually really bad for me. I don't know about you guys, but I usually am not well mentally during the winter. Depression gets really bad for me. But this year I've luckily dodged most of it. Had a couple little spikes of depression. I've battled depression my entire life, but nothing too bad, honestly, this year, which is kind of surprising. I guess 2020 as a year was so bad in general that by the time winter hit, I wasn't coming down off a high, right? I was just going in it feeling like crap, so maybe that's why. Maybe the whole year sucking made the winter sucking be a little bit more bearable. Thank you for the super chat. Reverse World with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Reverse. Personally, I think Sony can afford to push some big games to later 21 or into 2022. I don't know if Xbox has that same luxury. Think they need to keep the 21 games. Reverse World, out of the two of them, I agree with you that Sony can afford it more than Microsoft, simply because Sony has more announced, right? Microsoft has a lot of stuff announced that's clearly very far away, right? As of now, right now, the only really big brand new Xbox exclusive, right? And when I say exclusive, I mean Xbox and PC. Brand new games that are announced for this year that are AAA is basically Halo Infinite. Now, there is more coming to the Xbox this year from first party that's announced, right? Psychonauts 2, for example, but that's not exclusive. That's going to be multi-platform because that was in development before Microsoft bought Double Fine. And then, of course, there's going to be Flight Simulator, but that's already released on PC. So it's going to be new to console players, but it's not like a brand new game, right? Came out last year. So the only brand spanking new, it's never been released yet, not on any other platforms, it's AAA, is Halo Infinite that's announced. Now, I suspect there's going to be other games too coming from first party. Forza Horizon is widely rumored, but Sony has a ton announced for this year, right? Now, whether you believe these are all going to make this year or not, we have Returnal, we have Ratchet and Clank, we got Gran Turismo 7, we've got Horizon Forbidden West, and we've got God of War, Ragnarok, or whatever the next God of War is announced. So they just have so much announced for their slate that I agree, Reverse World. They can delay 1 or 2 games out of this year and still be pretty okay. I do think, though, that either God of War or Horizon does need to be this year, right? They announced 2 giant juggernaut sequels. I feel like one of them really needs to make this year. But if one of them gets pushed out, I don't think that's the end of the world either. And Microsoft, they can't afford to delay Halo Infinite again, right? It already caught a full year delay, like a complete full year. They can't delay that again. There's just no way. And if Forza Horizons this year, I really agree that they need it as well. Just because so they have more big AAA games hitting this year. Sony has more announced, so they can afford it more. RRD with a 2 super chat. Excited for Halo most of all. Any rumblings on it? So what we found out, RRD, and I'm really excited for Halo Infinite as well. Very excited. Is that they are going to do monthly updates on Halo Infinite until launch. Now, does that mean we're going to see like big giant gameplay blowouts every single month? No, not by any means. They're just going to give us updates, right? So whether that's like blog posts with a bunch of detailed information about the development process, I'm sure sometimes they will be showing gameplay, things like that. But there will be a monthly update on Halo, RRD, so you can count on that. Other than that, though, not a whole bunch of new information, but there will be. It's going to be spread out over this year. And I suspect we will see some form of gameplay, whether that's campaign or multiplayer, probably in the next few months. I'd be surprised if they don't show anything like until very late in the year. I think especially probably multiplayer, we'll see that sometime soon-ish. I would say before like halfway through the year, right? Before June's over, we should see more gameplay footage, I would think. And then Benji here with a 5 super chat. Thank you for all these super chats, everyone. You're all so generous. It helps me out a ton, let me tell you. It helps me out so much, these super chats. Hi, Benji. AMD warned shortages for next gen going into the second half of 2021. Yes, this is important. Will Sony reduce its projections for the PS5? I have a thought on that. Could some delays linked to shortages? Okay, Benji. I think it's really unlikely that Sony's going to hit their forecast now. I think it's very unlikely. So basically, we never got a concrete number out of Sony. But what we heard from them, the thing they did say basically, is that they expected by the end of this fiscal year to be outpacing the PS4 within its launch, until the end of that fiscal year. That is looking really unlikely, Benji, unless Sony has some kind of gigantic restocks hitting right before this this financial year ends, so like in March. Otherwise, I don't see how they're going to match the PS4. Now, long term, this is different, right? We're only talking about right now. Japan is just, PS5 sales are abysmal. There's just no other way to put it. PS5 sales are very, very bad in Japan. In the US, the PS5 started amazingly strong, but its December wasn't that great. And that's really due to shortages, right? It was still a big December, but it wasn't mind-blowing. UK, Europe, we're seeing the same thing. We're basically seeing the same thing everywhere. Both PS5 and Series X and S launched huge, bigger than their predecessors. The problem is legs have not been as good because of these shortages. So I don't think Sony planned on this, right? Put it this way, the demand is there. The demand is absolutely there. But there is just not enough consoles. Y'all, the very low amount of shipments is unbelievable. We're going weeks and weeks with consoles not hitting stores. This is just, it's impossible to be breaking records when you don't have consoles in stores to sell. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think it's very unlikely. Now, I'm not sitting here saying I don't think Series X and S are going to meet their forecast because we have no idea what the forecast is from Microsoft. My hunch is that they're also going to miss, right? Because they're basically in the exact same situation as Sony, but Microsoft never gave like a public, we want to hit this, right? We never found that out. So we have no idea what their forecast is. Sony, at the very least, we know that they wanted to outpace PS4 by the end of March. And that to me looks almost impossible unless something changes rapidly, Benji, which it doesn't look like because AMD said these shortages will last until the second half of the year. I mean, that is severe. So, not looking good. Yeah, not looking good, in my opinion. In my opinion, you're going to see, I think you'll see Sony make an actual comment on that whenever they start to release financial results. I suspect you're going to see them say, hey, the demand's there, but these shortages are impacting our forecast. And could delays be linked to shortages? Put it this way, Benji. I think the main reason is simply, work from home and pandemic impact. But what I will say is that as much as it might suck for owners right now of these consoles, probably pretty okay for them, these delays, to be honest, for the games, because the install base is not very big right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to be very big for quite some time if these shortages are going to persist till the second half of the year. So cross-gen games, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you still have the giant install base of Xbox One and PS4 to sell to. But if you're like a next-gen only game, like Final Fantasy 16, for example, ooh, you don't want that game coming out right now, trust me. I mean, I want it to come out because I want to play it, but you don't want that. You don't have a very big install base to sell to. So, yeah, I don't think many delays are directly due to shortages, but you might see a few pop up. Here's what I'll say, Benji. The most likely delays that are directly linked to shortages, I would say, would be from Japan. If you're making a PS5 only Japanese game, literally I'm mentioning Final Fantasy 16 here. I mean, the install base in Japan is tiny. It is tiny. So, yeah, that would be rough. Killian Butler with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Killian. That's another. Yeah, thank you for another super chat. This is my last super chat. I just wanted to add on my Returnal super chat. How do you think... Oh, was that you that had the giant 50 Returnal? I mean, Killian? Because if so, holy cow, thank you so much. I just wanted to add on to my Returnal super chat. How do you think Returnal will do in sales? In my opinion, the $70 price hurts it. Killian, I think people with PS5s are so starved for next-gen games that I actually think it's not really going to hurt it too much. Now, being a new IP at a higher price is always going to be a bit risky until we have a ton of data that outright shows that a raised price tag doesn't hurt game sales at all. We have a little bit of emerging evidence that kind of points to that, but I mentioned this in the last chat. Most of the games that are launching right now at these higher prices are in established franchises, right? You saw NBA get the $70 price, but it's basketball. You saw Call of Duty get the $70 price. It's Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? That the majority of these $70 games are established, right? That they're not a brand new IP. I do think it's going to be a little bit riskier. Now, this doesn't mean it's not going to, it could have zero impact, right? We just don't have enough concrete data to outright say that a price hike's going to hurt new IP. My hunch, though, is, Killian, like I said, there is so many people that, there's not so many because the install base isn't that big, but put it this way, if you own a PS5, you are looking for reasons to show off your PS5, right? You want that brand new PS5 content. I spent $500 on this console. I want to push it. I want to see some awesome graphics. These are the early adopters. We want PS5 games. So I do think it's going to do pretty good. Yeah, honestly, Killian, I'm expecting a good result for Returnal, unless the game sucks. And I don't think it's going to. I think it looks like it's going to be pretty good. I'm not expecting like a 90 Metacritic, but I could see this easily being an 80s, like a low 80s meta. And that's plenty good, I think, especially with not a lot of competition right now, right? We just saw with Hitman, for example. And Hitman, I think, was always going to do well. But the games that actually managed to release right now have so little competition. There's not a ton of games coming out. The first, up until we hit May-ish, the release slate is got some cool stuff. Persona Strikers looks awesome. Bowser's Fury looks cool. I'm getting that. but there's not a ton of like giant AAA multi-platform games. You know what I mean? Hogging up the space. So if you can get your game out, the amount of competition's fairly low. So I still think Returnal will do well. Timmer with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Timmer. The super chats are through the roof today. Thank you so much, everyone. Timmer72299. Do you think the buying themselves back, a la Bungie, will be a common thing in the industry in the far future, or do you think we will always be an exception, or that will always be an exception? Timmer, my hunch is the exception, especially I would say as streaming services and things like this become more and more and more important. You know, it used to be a little different because games really lived and died by their individual sales performance. So if a game wasn't meeting your expectations, or you didn't feel confident that a studio was going to be like, you know, having wide success for years and years to come, there was a little bit more of an argument for letting someone go. But right now, like, the whole industry is shifting towards content being so important. You want a big portfolio, right? That's why you're seeing literally everyone going out and buying people. Like, it's a madhouse out here, right? Not just Microsoft, everyone, right? Tencent's out there buying people because eventually, trust me, Tencent's going to be in on this whole shebang in a bigger way. Microsoft's not done yet, right? I noticed in their financial results, one of the forward factors they said that could affect their forward-looking profit margins and things like this was acquisitions. Now, it's kind of always in there, but I thought it was worth noting. Microsoft's still out there talking about acquisitions. I mean, put it this way. Game Pass is at 18 million subs, and they need that bad boy to be at like 50 million plus, like I mentioned earlier. And Sony's going to want more studios. Everyone's going to want more studios and more content. So I would say it's the exception. Timmer, I don't think it's going to be common. Will you never see it? No, you will see it sometimes, right? We just saw IOI Interactive go independent while they were with a publisher, right? And now they're an independent studio. So you will see cases like this, but I don't think you're going to see it all the time, no. Because people are going to do everything they can to hold on to studios and just get more. All right, thank you, everyone. Super chats are cleared for now. Thank you so much. That was quite the run of super chats. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. All right, let's hit some free questions. Batwing. Hello there, Benji. Do you think we could get an announcement of Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac this year and a release next year? Or do you think the game got pushed back by a year because of COVID-19? Ooh, good question. Okay. I think there's a pretty good chance you will see Spider-Man 2 announced. Yeah. At least announced. I don't know if they'll for sure say that they're going to release it next year. But I think you will see it announced because this is going to be 3 years after Spider-Man 1. Now, I know we had Miles Morales just at the end of last year. But that wasn't like the full-fledged sequel, right? You look at Spider-Man 2018, we're in 2021 now. So 3 years of development, right? By the time it's announced, at least pre-production, right? I'm sure they started pre-production on Spidey 2 basically as soon as Spider-Man 1 was done and released. I don't think it went into full-scale development then, but you at least had pre-production starting basically immediately. Because that was such a sales success. Like, they knew literally within days, there's no doubt we're making Spider-Man 2. You know what I mean? Whenever you're breaking records at launch, you're going to know very quickly, yep, we're going to make Spider-Man 2. So I suspect that, yeah, I think you will see it announced by the end of the year, but I don't know that they'll put a date on it. So they could say it's going to come in 2022. But I think that game announcements might be a little weird for the time being. Like, look at what Microsoft's done, right? Like, Perfect Dark got announced, no date. Forza got announced, no date. I mean, a lot of games are getting announced with, like, no dates on them. And I think it's because the industry is so in limbo right now because of COVID. I suspect you're going to see a lot of announcements not have any dates attached to them. So, yeah, probably announced this year by the end of it, but they might wait on a date. All right, I think I just saw a super chat hit. Let me hit that super chat. Ralph Muster. Ralph, what is up? It's so good to see you, Ralph. What is up with the 5? February 1st is going to be lit. Do you plan to make a live stream to comment on Nintendo's results? Absolutely, Ralph. We will be here. We will be going down on Nintendo's results. I don't know exactly what day, right? So I work in retail. So that's why I don't have like a set day that I do my live streams. And I know that can make it a challenge for people to show up live because they're kind of all over the place in terms of what day, right? It's not like a set thing where you can all plan on, hey, Benji's going to go live on this day at this time every single week. And I know that's tough for everyone. But like I said, I'm a retail worker, so my schedule every week is literally completely different. My days off are completely different. The hours I'm going to be there are completely different. It's all over the place. I'm in retail. So I don't know for sure that it's going to be, like the same day that Nintendo's financials hit. But trust me, Ralph, we will be doing a live chat over those results because they are going to be colossal. They are going to be so big, especially software. Don't get me wrong, Nintendo Switch hardware is insane. But I'm expecting the software results for Switch to be mind-boggling. So, yep, we will be doing one, Ralph. We absolutely will. All right. Hit some more free questions. Hamish Lee Ford. Hey, Benji, literally everyone thought Game Pass would reach 20 million in January. Yep, I was one of them. I publicly made that prediction. Even with the new consoles, it couldn't reach 20 million. Why? No big AAA launch is definitely a factor. Is there more? Let me grab a drink really quick, Amish. This is a great question. So yes, 18 million is below what I expected. And I saw, like you said, I think a ton of people expected 20 million. 18 million is a bit below because here's the main reason why I was thinking 20, and I think why most were thinking 20. Game Pass was getting, throughout most of 2020, like we commented before, around 1 million new subscribers a month, right? Right around there. Some months are going to be a little bit lower, some months are going to be a little bit higher, but 8 million in 9 months, that basically washes out to close to 1 million a month. So I was thinking, I'm sure like most of you, we have a brand new console launch and we have the holidays. So it would be surprising if the momentum didn't uptick right at the end of the year, right? You would expect November and December to see an uptick in Game Pass subscribers compared to the rest of the year. So I thought if they're doing around 1 million a month for most of the year, we're probably going to see that go up maybe to like a 1.5 or, maybe even a 2 million optimistically in just November and December, per month because of those big holiday spending, all the people buying new consoles, etc., etc. So yeah, 18 million is a bit below what I thought. It's not like a gigantic difference, right? It's not like I was expecting 20 million and they came in at 16, right? They barely had any growth. They still had growth, right? It was a 3 million increase over the previous number we've gotten. So they're still going up. But yeah, a bit slower than I thought. And I do think that no big AAA launch and shortages are probably the two biggest contributors, right? They're not selling as many X and S, I think, as me or a lot of people had hoped, including Microsoft, because there's like no consoles on shelves. So that's going to limit it, right? Because you're not getting a ton of brand new buyers into your ecosystem that you would hope because your new console's not on shelves to buy. And then, yeah, there was no big AAA Microsoft game, right? The biggest allure of Game Pass is getting those exclusives from Microsoft. Don't get me wrong, all the third-party content's awesome. The whole EA catalog being added is awesome. Seeing a lot of big, nice AAA games and indies get added in there is awesome. But the main pull, like the big main drive is, hey, I'm getting Forza day one for free, quote, quote, with my subscription. I'm getting Halo. I'm getting Gears of War. I'm going to get Fable, right? Like, these are the big reason why you subscribe to Game Pass. And there was none of those, right? We had no big Microsoft games. So I do think that that hurt them for sure. I would say shortages on consoles because you're not getting new people in the ecosystem, and no big AAA game. So, yep, a little lower than I thought, but still growth. It's still nice to see growth. All right. The Arkham Knight hero. With the failure of Marvel's Avengers, do you think Marvel Games will continue their license deal with Square Enix, or could they seek other publishers like Ubisoft and Bandai Namco? Ooh, this is a good question. So, there's a rumor that was floating around a long time ago, and I don't remember who said this. It might have been Jason Schreier, but I could be wrong on that. That there was a Guardians of the Galaxy game in development over at Square Enix. If they still have another game in development, then I suspect that you will still see that game released from Square Enix. But did we get a date, like how long that contract was for? I don't remember. Now remember, it's not an exclusive deal, right? Because you have seen other publishers come out with Marvel games, right? I mean, Insomniac's making Spider-Man. We've got the Marvel Ultimate Alliance game that came out for Switch. But it was, yeah, like a multi-game contract with Square Enix that they would be making Marvel games. Like I said, I think you'll still see at least one more big Marvel game come out of Square Enix because it's rumored that there is one. But if that also doesn't perform well, I don't know that you're gonna see. Marvel renew that license, right? Marvel might just be okay. Thanks, Square Enix, but we're gonna move on. Now, I don't know that for sure, but yeah, Avengers started strong. Actually, like its first month was really good, right? It was the second biggest launch for a superhero game ever. However, legs not good. Legs not good at all. All right, we just had a 10 super chat drop, I believe. Thank you so much. Yeah, Reverse World with a 10. Thank you so much, Reverse World. Game Pass subs are obviously a very important metric for Microsoft now. Yes, there are single Bethesda titles that, if exclusive, could boost Game Pass subs by millions on their own. Playing nice with multiplat makes no sense. Reverse, I'm with you. If I was Microsoft and I spent all this freaking money, right? So you see a lot of people be like, there's two schools of thoughts on the Bethesda deal. And I know we talk about the Bethesda deal every chat, but that's because there is so much curiosity about this, right? I only answer what y'all ask, and there is so much interest about how this Bethesda deal is going to go. And I'll be honest, there is for me too. There's two schools of thought. One school of thought is, hey, if you're going to go out and you're going to spend $7 billion, that you're going to want to recoup that money as fast as possible by making games multi-platform, right? That's one school of thought. You're reaching the biggest install base. You're getting your games on as many platforms as possible, and you're going to recoup that cost really quick. The other school of thought, and the school of thought I'm in, why would you spend $7 billion to put those games on other platforms when, as you mentioned, Reverse World, Game Pass is priority number one at Xbox. I'm not kidding you. It's more important than their console is. Yes, that is right. Game Pass is more important to Microsoft than the Xbox console that you have in your house, in your apartment, whatever. They care more about Game Pass long term. Now, it doesn't mean Microsoft doesn't care about consoles. They do care about consoles, but Game Pass is their road to the future for their gaming division. As you mentioned, if you have Elder Scrolls in Game Pass day one, and it ain't on PlayStation, and it ain't on Nintendo, whatever, it's always going to be on PC, of course. Yes, I agree. You will literally that one game can drive millions of Game Pass subscribers. I feel like that's more important to Microsoft than making a quick buck back on their purchase. And here's the other reason why. Microsoft in the last quarter made $15.5 billion in profit as a company in 1 quarter. They made as much in 1 quarter as buying 2 Bethesdas. Again, we've mentioned this before. $7 billion to Microsoft is pocket change. I know that's a ton of money, but for Microsoft, $7 billion is not a ton of money. It's basically half of what they made in a quarter, not in revenue, in profit. So they can afford to be like, yeah, we're in the long game for this $7 billion deal. We don't need to make $7 billion back in the next 1 to 2 years. We can make this $7 billion back in the next 5 to 6 years. So, I mean, it's two schools of thought. Either way, we will not know for sure until this deal is finalized. It's done. We know all of the details about it. But I agree with you, Reverse World. If I was Microsoft, there's no way I'd be putting those games on PlayStation. I'm just being honest. There's no way. There's no way. If I was in Phil Spencer's shoes, those games would be Xbox and PC only. I'm speaking strictly in terms of business, y'all. I totally get if you are a PlayStation fan, you don't want Game Pass, you don't want Xbox. I completely understand why that line of thinking would be frustrating, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being frustrated about that. I'm just saying strictly in terms of business, there is no way in hell I'd be putting these Bethesda games on PlayStation. Because I'd be jacking those Game Pass subscribers up. Sounds PP7. Hype for Tomb Raider Netflix series set after Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Thought on it plus the whole franchise. How else should the 25th year be celebrated? Crystal Dynamics made it sound like the next game is years and years away. Yeah, sounds PP7. I am excited for the anime as well. I liked the new trilogy. Now, I didn't think they were perfect. In fact, I thought some of the writing was all over the place, right? Some of the dialogue was all over the place, but I really enjoyed those games, all 3 of them. I even liked Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I know a lot of people didn't, but I liked all 3 of those games, and here's the thing. I would love to see a new game be announced this year, right? Whether that's even a remake of one of the older titles. I'm not necessarily saying you have to announce a sequel to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but I would like to see a nice big Tomb Raider game announced. It's an awesome franchise. It's a legendary franchise. It has one of the most iconic, female leads in all of gaming, right? I mean, literally people that know nothing about video games know who Lara Croft is. So it's your 25th anniversary. You need to announce some kind of game, right? And not like a mobile click type thing or a runner. I want to see some kind of announcement for a Tomb Raider project. I don't want that series to be on ice. I don't want it to just be done. It's too valuable of a brand. So, like I said, even a remake in high quality, even like the first Tomb Raider game or something, and add on to it in really high fidelity, that would even be sweet, right? Something. Hamish Lee Ford. According to an internship advertisement, Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment's future projects will have a heavy focus on live services. How will this affect Gotham Knights or Suicide Squad? Yeah, I think the main thing here is going to be Suicide Squad. That game, it appears, is full on games as a service, right? Gotham Knights a little bit less so. It does have a multiplayer element, and it's a pretty big element as well. But that game also looks to me, Hamish Lee Ford, like it can be played single player and probably still be really enjoyable. Suicide Squad, I think, is like really targeting being games as a service. DC Destiny, right? And I don't mean it's going to play like Destiny, but I think it's going to be a full-on games as a service. Multiplayer is like 90% of the focus here. I don't know if they've announced it, but you can probably play it single player. I mean, you can play Destiny completely single player, right? You can matchmake with other people, but a ton of the stuff you can do by yourself. But I suspect that, Suicide Squad's going fully down that path. We know it's not going to be like hardcore everything is just multiplayer games as a service. For example, we have a giant RPG announced in Hogwarts Legacy that, who knows, maybe it has a multiplayer component, but it's clearly not the focus. I think it just means that their games are going to continuously be updated, and yes, some of them will go fully down this multiplayer path like Suicide Squad. Yep. Yoda Soda was asking similar thing about the Avengers and Square Enix deal. Kosis. Hi, Benji. Do you think Uncharted 4 can end up having sold 20 million copies? I think it can because the sequel, which I'm sure is coming, will boost it. Same question for Horizon Zero Dawn. So these are a little tough because we haven't had sales updates on either one of these games in like forever, right? No Uncharted 4 sales updates and no Horizon updates in quite some time. So we actually don't have much perspective on where they're currently at in sales. I would say that a 20 million ballpark on both is doable. And whenever I say 20 million, I don't know for sure that they can hit 20 million, but probably close, right? I suspect both of these games, by the time it's all said and done, and I know Uncharted 4 is old, but there are still people buying that game, especially because it goes on sale for super cheap. I would think that both of these can get well over 15 million. So they can probably hit that 16, 17, 18. None of those numbers would shock me at all. Over 20 million for both would very much surprise me, right? 21, 22, things like that. Just because we haven't had a sales update in so long, though, it does make it tough. And yeah, I hope there's a new Uncharted in the works. It's a massive missed opportunity if it's not. It's one of Sony's biggest brands. I know Naughty Dog doesn't want to make it, but somebody at Sony should be making an Uncharted game. Like if I'm Sony, I'm like talking to my studios. I'm like, who wants to make Uncharted? We're not going to just let this IP die. There's so much you could do with that franchise without Nathan Drake. I mean, heck, Lost Legacy might be my favorite Uncharted. It's definitely probably top 2, and it might be my favorite Uncharted. And Nathan Drake is not in that game at all. Don't get me wrong, I love Nate, but you don't need him. You don't need him. There's so much you can do with Uncharted without him. Somebody better be making one. CA Knight. I wonder how much Friday actually changed Xbox's free-to-play plans. Halo multiplayer was already announced to be free-to-play, and they said the paywall will be dropped in the coming months. So, apparently, CA Knight, this was already in the works before the announcement was even made. So, even with Xbox Live going up to 120, had that stuck, they were still going to have free-to-play games not require gold anymore. Jeff Grubb, I think, reported this, and so did Daniel Ahmed, also known as Z Hue, or Huge. I like to call him Z Huge, however you pronounce it. I know it's not Z Huge, by the way. I just like to say that. They both said that it was already coming. They were already going to drop the paywall for free-to-play games. They basically just put this in there as like an olive branch because people were so mad that not only did they walk it back, the announcement, but they were also like, well, we already had this in the works. Let's just go ahead and put that out there, the olive branch. Like, hey, also free to play. You don't need gold anymore. So I don't think it changed their plans too much other than the announcement. I don't think they had any intention to announce this yet, and it pushed the announcement forward. DB will rise. Since you're into MMA, I thought I might ask, are you into WWE or pro wrestling in general? DB will rise, not too much. I do catch some wrestling sometimes for fun, right? Like every once in a while I'll tune into it. Like if there's like a big match that's going to go down, right? Like a really big one that people are hyping up. I will catch it occasionally, but I'm not like a massive WWE guy. I am super into combat sports. Like I watch boxing like crazy. I watch MMA like crazy. I watch kickboxing. I watch all of it, right? Muay Thai. I love combat sports. But WWE and pro wrestling is more like a very casual thing for me, right? Just like there's MMA people that don't watch MMA fights, but they'll tune into a Conor McGregor fight because they know, oh man, this is hype. Conor McGregor's fighting. I don't watch any fights, but I'm going to watch Conor. That's kind of how I am with WWE. When there's a really big WrestleMania or something crazy about to go down, I'll tune in and have some fun with it, but I'm not a regular watcher by any means. Samuel Tobert, good to see you, Samuel. So good to see you, Samuel. I don't know if you're still here in chat, but it's awesome to see you, man. Yo, Benji, with even games like Returnal seeing delays, what other major titles do you see getting shifted later into or out of 2021? Yep, like we mentioned, I suspect all the Sony games are catching at least a 2 to 3 month delay. You know, maybe not publicly, but again, I'd be shocked if Gran Turismo is still the first half of this year. I already think that Ratchet and Clank got delayed. Not an official way, right? That game never had an official announcement date, but I suspect internally that game has already been delayed. I think that's going to be the majority of the delays we see are going to be games that maybe haven't even been announced yet or never had announced dates, right? Things like a Final Fantasy 16, things like a Forza Horizon. Games like this, I think, are the main ones that are going to get delays. Because when you think about it, as crazy as it sounds, there's a ton of games that haven't even been dated for this year. Like, we have a lot of stuff announced with dates kind of up until like April or May. But there's not like hardly anything dated after that, right? It's just a nebulous 2021 or coming soon or not even announced, right? So I could see Flight Simulator catching a delay. I could see Nier Replicant catching a delay. I mean, I think every single game right now is on the table for delays. But I suspect, Samuel, most of what's being delayed, we didn't even have a date for already. It's just internally, like, maybe they were thinking, hey, this game's going to come out in June. And now they're like, it ain't going to be June. Maybe it's going to be October. You know what I mean? I think that's most of it. I'd be surprised if Monster Hunter Rise caught a delay. That already had a demo. It already seems like it's like really far done. And I think Capcom absolutely is depending on that game making it for this fiscal year because they raised their forecast, right? And that's definitely a part of why they raised their forecast because it's tracking enormous. So, like, I don't think you'll see Monster Hunter catch a delay. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see Bowser's Fury catch a delay. Nintendo seems to be a pretty okay spot. All right, we are at an hour, so I'm going to be a little picky with questions. Just super chats and people that haven't gotten questions yet. Oh, wait, we had a super chat that I almost missed. Good thing I didn't miss it. I just scrolled through. RRD. What 2 secret Xbox games did Jez Corden hint at? RRD, I am not an insider, right? So I do not know. I'm just going to be honest with you. I do not know. Do I sometimes get insider info? Yes, right? Anyone that, I mean, I have, I think, like 18,000 followers on Twitter or something. I mean, once you get like a decent sized following, you're going to hear behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, I do sometimes hear inside info, but I do not consider myself an insider, except for sales info. I am definitely an insider on sales info, right? I definitely am. I get a lot of numbers that never go public. So, like, in terms of sales data, yeah, I'm an insider. In terms of, like, secret games, I don't really think so. Occasionally I hear something. But, in regards to what Jez Corden's hinting at, I have no idea. He's going to be way more connected to Xbox than I ever am. So, I'm sorry you paid a super chat for it. I wish I had additional info for you, but I just don't. I really don't. I don't got that info. Sorry. All right. Thank you for all the amazing questions today, everyone. Like I said, I'm being a little picky. I'm still going to go for like 15, 20 minutes because it's a big chat. We have so many questions, so many good ones. I'm just going to be a little selective. JCat saying, what's up? Yo, what is up, JCat? It's good to see you. Couch asking, did you buy any stonks, Benji? LMAO. So, Couch, I have basically no money. These super chats, I super appreciate it. This basically funnels any extra money I have, right? Like any extra. Like the reason, we talked about this a lot. The main reason I was able to buy a Series X and a PS5 is literally because of this chat. I am just a retail worker, so I don't have a lot of extra money, y'all. I make enough money to survive. Like I'm not like in massive debt, like, oh my gosh, I'm screwed, but I don't really have money to like spend except for these super chats. This is a huge help for me. But I'm a retail worker and I've got a daughter, so I don't have like a ton of money to be thrown at investments. So put it this way. My bank account right now is at $78 and I have $0 in savings. So that should tell you. So no, I did not buy any stocks, but I'm happy for people that that did. I am super, super happy. Basically, these super chats are helping me buy gaming stuff to help my coverage of games, right? Like that's literally what I set aside my super chats for, is the like I don't spend this money on like McDonald's, right? I spend it all gets funneled into games because games is like my thing, right? That's what I cover. So it's all dedicated to gaming. Cameron O'Neill. Do you think Xbox would ever offer a tier of Game Pass that is only Xbox exclusives and Xbox Live Gold? Seems like a good medium to get PlayStation and Switch gamers and help drive growth and engagement. Ooh, that is interesting, Cameron. That's actually like really interesting. A tier of Game Pass that is only exclusives and gold. Wow, that is interesting. I'm going to say no to that tier, Cameron. But I do think you're going to see additional tiers. One of the ones I've had in mind for quite some time, Cameron, and this would be harder to make work, but I think there is a way you could negotiate it to work, and especially with Xbox game studios, right? Because, I mean, it's their own studios. I really think Microsoft should introduce a tier that includes DLC for games. Obviously, it's not going to include like microtransactions, right? If a game has loot boxes, it ain't going to include that. But I would like to see a tier of Xbox, and you're already seeing a little bit of that, right? Like, for example, Gears. If you had Gears, you got the Hivebusters DLC for free. But it's not always, right? Sometimes their DLC is not included in Game Pass. For example, Forza Horizon, you still got to pay for the big expansions for Forza. I think it'd be a good idea for Microsoft to offer a tier where it's like, yo, you're in this tier, you're going to get all DLC, all expansions, anything like that that's not a microtransaction. It's locked in. You're in this tier. You don't got to worry about it. You don't have to go out and buy the expansions. You're getting it as part of your service. I would love to see that. And then negotiate with some third parties to make sure that some of the third-party games are also going to include the DLC in there. That's one tier I think could work. The Xbox exclusives in gold is interesting. But I don't think you'll see it because it would be a cheaper price. And honestly, I hate to say this, but I think Microsoft's only going to pursue higher tiers. I don't think you're going to see cheaper versions of Game Pass. I think you'll only see more expensive because they want to generate that revenue. But it's a good idea, Cameron. Like, it's a very interesting idea. But yeah, I think we just had a super chat drop. JCat with the 10 super chat. Thank you so much, JCat. Thank you. It's so good to see you, JCat. You've been a loyal supporter since the beginning. JCat's one of the OGs. If Starfield and Wolfenstein 3 are releasing this year, PS versions, are already in existence and far into development. Do you think Microsoft would scrap these in favor of exclusivity? Dang, and it's a good question, JCat. This is a good one. The especially interesting thing here is Starfield, because there were rumors floating that Bethesda was trying to make that a PlayStation exclusive before they got bought. A PlayStation exclusive. It's obviously not going to be, right? Starfield, there's a zero chance it's PlayStation exclusive, but apparently at some point they were trying to negotiate that. Right, if it's already far into development, that is such a good freaking question. JCat, here's my guess, and this is just a guess. Wolfenstein 3, if it's this year, I think is definitely going to be multi-platform. Couple reasons. A, Wolfenstein 2 didn't sell a lot in general, right? It was not a super strong seller. And then B, like, you already have Wolfenstein 1 and 2, on other platforms. Like, it's an already released thing. If the version of PlayStation's already basically done, it would seem weird to not release that. So I'd say if Wolfenstein 3 is this year, I definitely think, even after the Microsoft acquisition, I think that will be multi-platform. Now, if we get a Wolfenstein 4, that's a bit of a different situation. Because at that point, it wouldn't have even started development on PlayStation, whereas Wolfenstein 3 clearly did. Starfield, I could see a situation, I kid you not, where Microsoft bought them. Starfield's already in development for PlayStation, and they scrap it. I could see it happening, and this is not unheard of. For example, Gears of War. Whenever I mention this, there was a fully running version of Gears 3 that ran on PlayStation. Now, it was never slated to release for PlayStation, and Epic claimed, like, when this stuff kind of came out, that it was for testing purposes. But I think it was a little more back deal negotiation going on, because if you remember back then, and this is a while ago, there were rumors back in the day that Gears of War was going to become a multi-platform franchise. And I think that might have been a bit of a strong arm from Epic at the time, being like, yo, we got this game running on PlayStation, and unless you're going to give us more money for exclusivity, this bad boy is going to be releasing on PlayStation. So I would not be surprised if that was a scenario where there was a fully running version on a different console, and Microsoft was like, nope, no, you are not releasing that. We're going to pay up. So I could see it. I could see it happening with Starfield because it has no history on any console. It's never been released. It's a brand new IP. But you never know. You never know. Wolfenstein, I'd be shocked if you didn't make that platform, multi-platform, that is already in development for them. That one, I would. Cade saying Project Mara could be the next Silent Hill and PT. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope it comes next year, or comes out this year. Please, no delay. Project Mara, I am hyped for. I love horror. Anyone that knows me knows I love horror. The visuals in the teases look unbelievable, but I don't think that one's this year, Cade. I think that's after Hellblade 2, and Hellblade 2 has no date yet. So I think Mara is a little bit further out. I think that's still conceptual. I'd be pumped if it was this year, but I don't think so. I think if anything Ninja Theory comes out this year, it'll be Hellblade 2. And even that, I'm like, we haven't seen much. I don't know that that's this year. But I think Hellblade 2 before Project Mara would be my guess. Red Dead series saying Sony's secret San Diego team is rumored to be working on an Uncharted game. You know what, Red Dead series? I thought they were too, especially because of who they hired. But then I think Shinobi, who's awesome, I think he said on Reset Era, and I don't want to put words in his mouth because I really respect Shinobi. I think Shinobi's awesome, right? So if I'm misreporting here, I could be wrong. But someone linked me to it. I'm pretty sure Shinobi said that San Diego is not making Uncharted, that the game they're working on is something else, which really surprised me because I thought for sure. I mean, they hired part of the whole San Diego thing was established was some former Naughty Dog people. So I thought, yeah, I'm like, this is Uncharted. But Shinobi is very accurate. I mean, you want to talk about an insider. Shinobi's a real legit insider. And I think he said it's not Uncharted, which shocked me. So, yeah, that would be surprising. Benji with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. Saying, your thoughts on Resident Evil Village, please. Sales projections, will it be the biggest RE game, not full next gen after all? Benji, my current prediction is Resident Evil 8 Village has the biggest launch in Resident Evil history. Now, here's the question. How will legs be? Who knows? But the hype for Village right now is astronomical. They nailed it with their designs, right? Of the witches, of the big giant lady. It starts with a D. I can't remember her name now. But that has become a social media phenomenon. If even a small fraction of the people that are going nuts for her online buy Resident Evil Village because of this, you're looking at craziness. So Benji, especially now that it is confirmed cross-gen, if this was next-gen only, no, it wouldn't have broke the record. But with it being cross-gen, I think it's going to be the biggest launch. Now, like I said, who knows with legs, but Resident Evil 7 is approaching 9 million sold, dude. Like, Resident Evil 7 is huge. It's at almost 9 million, which for a horror title is insanity. So I'd be surprised if it wasn't the biggest launch. You're coming off of 7, which was a giant seller, and then you have all this social media craziness. Yeah, definitely should be the biggest launch, at least. We'll see about legs. Legs is one of those things you can never really determine until the game's out, but should be the biggest launch. If it's not, that will surprise me. Lorenzo Arajo asking, when do you think Xbox is going to start releasing games only on Game Pass? This is a fascinating question, Lorenzo, right? Because that is something that's in their arsenal that they have not done really yet, right? They've done the day one, but they haven't done it's only on Game Pass. And that is a tool they could potentially use to raise subscriptions. If you see this sort of thing, Lorenzo, I would never expect it to be a giant triple A, Halo. You can't even buy this game. It's only on Game Pass. I would suspect you'll never see that because you can still make a lot of money from sales, right? But, Lorenzo, I would not be shocked if you see some smaller projects, an A or AA game from Microsoft Studios do this. I would not be surprised. It's a form of leverage. You already have 18 million subs, so you don't really have to worry that, no one's going to be able to access this game. If you don't have a huge budget, you could potentially play that to increase subscriptions. That is a play. But Lorenzo, like I said, I wouldn't suspect you'll ever see them do that with Halo or Forza or Gears. But not out of the question for a smaller game. Not at all. All right, we're going to go for a little less than 10 more minutes. So I got time for a few more questions. Just a couple more. So, Captain Crunch saying, if they're swimming in profit, then they wouldn't have pulled that stunt last week. Well, the company in general is not only swimming in profit, they are doing cannonballs into lakes of cash money. 15.5 billion, in fact, in one quarter. They made so much money in profit, it is actually hard to imagine. Y'all, that's not revenue. Made 15 billion in profit. That's after expenses. They have so much money they're swimming in, you can't even comprehend it. In terms of like the Xbox Live Gold thing, because I think even the Xbox division's profitable now, to be honest. They had 5 billion in revenue in a quarter. If you're not posting profit off 5 billion revenue in a quarter, then there is a problem. So I suspect even the Xbox division's profitable. The thing is Captain Crunch, I think this was some kind of crazy play to boost Game Pass and to just squeeze out revenue from those sticking with gold. I think it was just very stupid. I don't think it was necessarily one of those things like, oh man, we don't have any profit, we're screwed. I think it was more like, yo, let's get even more money, and I think it was a thing that bit them in the butt bad. But no, Microsoft in general, like, it can't be debated. They're unbelievably profitable. The amount of profit it's hard to understand actually how much it is. Grand Theft Auto Man 51 saying, I think they'd lose a big chunk of the Elder Scrolls player base if they made this not on PlayStation. Well, there's no doubt, right? PlayStation gamers have bought a ton of Elder Scrolls games. So if you're Microsoft, there's no doubt you're going to lose a chunk, right? There's just no doubt. I think your hope, though, is that you convince enough people that were only on PlayStation to at least play this on PC through Game Pass or go out and buy an Xbox. And honestly, I hate to say it, but you can afford to lose those PlayStation sales when you're Microsoft. I mean, when you're talking about a company this big, there's a lot of strong arm tactics they can use, right? Ryan Epps saying, Benji, my fam, I love your hard work. Thank you so much, Ryan. I do. I work hard at it, you know. I know on YouTube I'm not as active, so people that don't follow me on Twitter, that are only here on YouTube, you know, it might not seem like I'm grinding all the time because I'm only here once a week, but I'm very active on Twitter. So I'm always trying to cover things the best I can. So thank you so much, Ryan. Do I think we're going to see Elden Ring this year despite the delays? I think we're going to see it. I don't think it's going to release. And I hate to say that. I would love Elden Ring to be this year, but we've still literally seen nothing but like a 1-minute concept trailer. Like, we haven't seen anything else. We haven't seen a screenshot. We haven't seen anything. We haven't even seen a CG story trailer, because honestly, that first trailer ain't story. It's just literally conceptual. Ryan, if that game is this year, I'd be surprised. But I do think we will at least finally know what Elden Ring is this year. Yes. I don't think they're going to go another year without talking about this game at all. At the very least, Ryan, the good news is we should at least know what Elden Ring is by the time the year's over. Yep. But I'm guessing that's going to be like an early to summer game next year, 2022. Hope I'm wrong. I mean, y'all, I love me some FromSoft, so I'd be all in on it being this year, but I don't think so. We've just seen so little, right? Literally nothing. Drees, when do you think we will hear about PSVR 2? And do you think Xbox is making a VR headset for Xbox Series X? I think we'll hear about PSVR 2 next year, because I do think it's an active development, right? Sony's invested too much already, and they still are invested, though definitely I would say it's obvious their investment has dropped off, right? Is there a single VR title for PlayStation Studios announced right now? I'm sure there's something in development, but I don't know if there's anything announced from PlayStation themselves in development for PSVR. But there's all kinds of VR patents that have come out. Oculus has accelerated the VR market. I am telling y'all. I know Oculus hasn't put out any numbers. Oculus Quest 2 sales are boom. I mean, great by VR standards. So, you know, I think PSVR 2 will definitely be a thing. I think they will talk about it as soon as next year, but I don't think you'll hear anything in 2021. But 2022, I think so. 2021, the focus is going to be around getting PS5s out there, getting PS5s into people's homes, getting manufacturing up and running. Like, I feel like there's not going to be room to talk about other stuff. It's going to be all about establishing that PS5 base. But 2022, I think you'll see PSVR 2 talked about. Release, maybe not, but at least a thing. All right, everyone, I'm going to call the chat there. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for a big chat. Thank you for a ton of freaking super chats today. They were through the roof. Make sure you hit that like button if you like doing these live chats, everyone. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps my channel get found. I'm trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. That's the next goal. We're not too far away. So let your friends know. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for another amazing chat. I love doing these. We do them every single week. So if this was your first time ever being part of the live chat, everyone, we're going to be back next week. So if I didn't get to your question, save it. Next week, we're going to be back. Thank you so much, everyone. Peace out. stay safe, play some games. I will catch you either on Twitter or over here on YouTube in the next stream, everyone. Thanks. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.